Hello, my name's Wade Black, and today we'll be looking at TQA's industry colt starting. We'll be looking at the standards, guidelines, and expectations for training and selling horses to the public, as well as looking at the TQA industry test for their certification. Before we jump into this, I just want to say what TQA is. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that works with experts in the equine and ranching industry to set industry standards, certifications, and guidelines for training and selling horses to the public, as well as working on ranches and feedlots where horsemanship, stockmanship, and roping skills are required. In this video, we're going to be going through the TQA industry colt starting test. We want to give a special thanks to our judges, Nick Dowers, Brian Newbert, Joe Walter, Martin Black, and Chris Cox that'll be the judges on this video. We also want to thank Ty Van Norman, Jason Smith, Levi Gibson, Pete Aratola, Paul Elsner, and Luke Olson. These were all the industry experts that we worked together to help set some guidelines and standards and expectations for the consumer for 2 to 3 months colt starting or setting the foundation on a horse. One of the first things we worked with our industry professionals on was to set a base training fee for training horses for the public. Our experts said that it's around $700 to $900 per month per horse as a base training fee, which does not include feed, shoeing, teeth, or chiropractic. So as far as someone wanting to get a horse started, they would probably expect to pay somewhere between $1,000 to $1,200 to get a horse trained or to get their foundation tuned up on one of their horses. It's important to point out if the person is doing specialized training such as cutting or team roping, the price can go up as well. As far as the going rate for an assistant trainer, our industry professionals said it's between $15 to $30 per hour or $1,800 to $2,500 per month, and that may or may not include housing. And again, if the assistant trainer is still learning, be lower than that as well if the colt starter or the main trainer is training the assistant trainer as they go. The next thing we worked on was setting a TQA recommended timeline for setting the foundation on a horse. Option 1 was 40 days training within 2 months or 60 days. So they would be ridden 5 days in a row, then given 2 days off. Option 2 was 52 days training in 2 months within the 60 days there. So they'd be ridden 6 days in a row and given 1 day off. Option 3 would be 40 to 52 days training within 3 months or 90 days. So they'd be ridden 4 days in a row and then given 3 days off. It's important to remember when starting young horses that consistency is key. And if a person cannot ride a horse at least 3 days in a row, the quality of training goes down and the client is not getting their money's worth. The number of rides per month partly depends on the age of the horse. In relation to riding a horse 5 days a week versus 6 days a week, some may argue that the horse needs the extra ride in order to get the full 2 months. Others may argue that a young horse does better the other 5 days with 2 days of rest, physically and mentally. Horses trained at TVCC are ridden 4 days in a row and given 3 days off because the college term is 3 months and we don't want to burn young horses out. I also find that after a 3-day weekend, sometimes you deal with a little more energy after having the 3 days, and I find it kind of better prepares the horses in turnout time when the trainer takes them home. But regardless of which option the trainer chooses, the main thing is that the horse receives consistent training and the trainer can meet the recommended industry quality standards for 2 months training. Next, we worked with our industry professionals to set an industry quality standard at the end of 2 months training. So this is for setting the foundation on an unstarted horse or restarting a poorly trained horse. So the disclaimer here, this does not mean that every horse will meet the TQA industry quality standards for setting the foundation on a horse. It is only meant to be a baseline industry standard for the trainer to evaluate the horse with the client and for the client to evaluate their trainer. Just like kids in school, some kids take more time, and it is the same with working with horses. Also, some horses may be unsafe for their client, and the baseline industry standard could be used as a way to show this to their client. Now we'll go through the 15 things for the expectations of what the horse should do at the end of 2 months training. Number 1, good to catch. Number 2, stand to saddle and accept bridle. Number 3, stand to get on for an inexperienced rider. Number 4, lope in a straight line away from the barn. Number 5, walk, trot, and lope a circle both directions. 6, stop at a walk, trot, and lope by asking with both reins. Pivot around an inside front foot or disengage the hindquarters. Use the hindquarters to pull the horse in reverse motion for backing and stopping. Front feet and hind feet move together in a lateral motion. That'd be like your side pass or your 2-track. And stop the inside hind foot and walk or pull the other feet forward around it. So the basic foundation for a rollback or spin. Number 11, vertical flexion or collection. Pick up feet, load in trailer, stand quiet tied up, and then foundation applied to job. So catered to discipline. What will the owner do when they take them home? So if it's a rancher, maybe track a cow or take down a rope on them, track a dummy. If it's a trail horse, take him down the trail. Barrel horse, maybe take him around the barrels. Jump horse, take him over some jumps. So catered to discipline, preparing them for the owner when they take them home. The final thing we'll be going over is the scoring system for the industry colt starting test. TQA's colt starting scoring system is designed to meet the industry quality standard for 2 months training set by TQA industry advisors or experts in the industry. There are 7.1 million people in the equine industry in the U.S., and 85 to 90% of these horses are inexperienced. The TQA industry colt starting test and grading scale used by the judges in this test base their scoring using this demographic as their target client. Next, I want to take a second and go through the TQA industry colt starting test. You can see here it's on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 would be did not perform the task, unsafe for client. 2 would be perform the task, but did not meet the industry quality standard. 3 is meeting the industry quality standard. 4 is perform task with little to no assistance. And 5 is kind of that being able to fill in for an inexperienced horse owner. Our target client is our 7.1 million people in the equine industry, and 85 to 90% are inexperienced horse owners. So for TQA, that is our client customer, our target customer, and that's what we're trying to prepare these horses for. With that said, major disclaimer here, these horses at the end of here, even at the end of 2 months, and they look like they could fill in for an inexperienced horse owner, they're still going to need additional training by an experienced horse trainer. I like to think of these horses at the end of 2 months to be kind of like a flag football team. I coach my kids in flag football, and so we work with these kids 4 days a week for 2 months, and at the end of the season, they kind of have a foundation on task completion, some temperament and foundational things, but they're a long ways from having enough confidence in the sport to be able to go teach someone else, especially if they've been given very much time off. And so it's important that the horse owner knows this at the end of training, that even though they look like they may be able to fill in for an inexperienced horse owner, they're going to need a lot more training until they're actually able to do that. That's part of TQA, is educating the client in the entire horse training process from foundation to finish. As I wrap up the industry judges sheets here, you can see 1 is below standard, unsafe and dangerous. 2 is below the industry standard. That's kind of the cowboy looking horse. They may be able to get the job done, but it's below the standard where you'd want them with the public. And again, 3 is meets the industry quality standard. 4 is above the industry quality standard. And 5 is exceeds the industry quality standards. And so you can see whether it's on the task completion foundation side or on the temperament, 3 is kind of that magical number. And also the judges can go 0.5. So 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. So again, to pass the industry quality test, they need to average a 3 across the board. So we'll see how this goes. I'll try to go through. There's going to be some things that actually probably aren't that good, because normally at the end of the 4 months or into the 2 months, at the end of phase 4, you've been riding him. This horse, I haven't been riding him. You can see in the first 3 videos, I was clean shaved. It's been a little gap, and so this horse has not been ridden consistently. So it'll be kind of the minimum, not exactly. It'll give you an idea anyway. So first thing in the industry certification is you'll bring your horse right in here and turn him loose. Okay, so that'll be kind of step 1. If I was scoring him on the industry test, I'd score him a 4. Okay, like I said, on this, especially for the industry test, you're not going to do groundwork. You're just going to catch them, saddle them, bridle them, get on them, just like the consumer's probably going to do. So, all the thing on the industry test, it's actually, instead of a 0 plus 1, 2, 3, negative 1, 2, 3, it's on a scale from 1 to 5. So you start at 3 and you're going up and down from there. So that, I would not, starting at a 3 and up and down from there, good stand to saddle, that wasn't that great. Maybe put it out of 3. It wasn't terrible. I wouldn't give any pluses on that. You know, we didn't run off, but if they don't move at all, that's pretty high on your scoring system, right? The other thing on the scoring system, the judges can give 0.5. So it's 3, 3.5, 4. So as you're going up on the scale like that, like I said, as far as stand to saddle, and I went to throw it up there, he moved a little bit, which isn't ideal. So far, he's doing pretty good as far as standing. For the entire saddling process there, I would have had him at a 3 or maybe a 3.5, averaging out. Yeah. So like I said, on this, you're not doing any of this final video, you know, it says review all of those things, right? But in the final video, you're should be able to show all those things, right? Everything's preparing them for test day, but this is test day. So as I go through these different things, I'm not going to do horizontal direction in and away. I'm not going to do all my groundwork. I'm going to catch them, saddle them, ride them, walk, trot, lope, do both directions. I mean, we're not going through all of those things. Everything that we've done from day one is prepare them to have confidence on the test day. Okay, that's why I had to laugh, because I haven't really been riding him, so we'll see how. I rode him yesterday, and he had 2 weeks off and or more than that. He's been really inconsistent, so that's why I had to laugh to see how good this video is actually going to look. So. Okay, so once you cinch him and saddle him, always think it's a good idea. Always, it's a good habit to step your horse up, okay? So, it's a good idea to get in the habit of always doing there, okay? Should stand to get on, okay? So he didn't move at all. This is what I like to see, stand to get on. We've been building on that all the way through, stand to get on. Should have horizontal direction standing. Take the slack out, they put the slack back in. And actually on that, ideally, if you had kind of taken your time getting them good to stand, it's actually, before you untrack their feet, it's not a bad idea when you first get on, is what I should have done on this, is just get horizontal direction both ways before you get a lot of forward. I think that's a really good habit to get into. I should have done that to begin with, and he probably wouldn't have moved his feet. Is when you first get on, just get horizontal direction, get him to put the slack back in the rein both ways there. You take the slack out, horizontal direction, they put the slack back in. So that's probably a better deal. I shouldn't have untracked him there. Then once you have your horizontal direction standing both ways, then you can do your stage 1 both ways. Okay, like I said, on your horizontal direction, I do like to bring their head and pet them. So if you want to do that, you could do that on your horizontal direction. You could just take the slack out and have them put it back in. But I do, as we go through the TQA vocab words, I do like to be able to bring their head and pet them. Grandpa was a big fan of that. Be able to bring your horse's head around and pet them, have them soft. Okay, and then doubling. walking, jigging, trotting, loping. I've gotten some negative feedback through the years on doing very much disengaging the hindquarters towards the end of the 2 months training because it gets them kicking their butt out for your rollbacks in your spins, and I would agree with that. But for the sake of this program, I work with a lot of young kids starting colts, and then these colts go home to a lot of times inexperienced horse owners. So I kind of over exaggerate the doubling as a safety valve, disengaging the hindquarters. In the reining cow horse, we'd like to have those hindquarters engaged, putting them on a curve line, and then doing a lot of stage 3 and stage 4. But like I said, where I work with a lot of inexperienced beginners, I kind of over exaggerate the doubling. We go outside and we're on ditch banks and on the roads, and sometimes cars driving by, and I want everyone to be really comfortable with, if a wreck starts going, that you can disengage the hindquarters. And then the same thing for the owners when they take them home. Really comfortable kicking the butt out as a safety valve. You'd have the revelation within 3 steps from initial cue. Okay, and then on your circles, walking, jigging, trotting, loping, walking, slow trot, extended trot, loping. You could go around this. You can pick a corner. You can kind of do it however you want, okay? So you can get your horse to go around kind of this thing. It doesn't really say, doesn't matter how you show it. I would just encourage you, whatever you're going to do for the test, practice doing leading up to the week. So you could go around this, it kind of gives them an object, something to move around, or you can pick a corner over there. Okay? Okay, so I'm supposed to demonstrate horizontal direction. Horizontal direction, or walk a circle, okay? And I'm supposed to show all 4 stages, right? That's one of the things you're supposed to do. So one of the things you can do on here is in this little grill walking around here, you can show off walking a circle. You can show off your stage 2, stage 3. Okay, you can show off your different stages here as you're going around. Does that make sense? Biggest thing is just you need to demonstrate the different parts there as you're coming around. So we walk the circle. Trotting a circle. Make sure you're looking where you want to go. Do not look at your horse's head. Look where you're going. At least 1 full circle. Okay? When I do my stop, I like to kind of rock him back. It helps with your stop. He said, make sure you look where you're going. For the sake of your test, all it says is walk, trot, lope a circle both directions. For the sake of your test, it'll be easier if you just pick the same spot to stop. Your horse will get used to stopping in that spot. You're going to show off a better stop. Does that make sense? Okay? Look where you're going. Not a very good stop, but a good stop. I'm looking where I'm going. Do not look at your horse's head. Think about looking almost behind you where you want to go. I say 3/4 of a circle ahead. Whoop. Whoop. Okay, so right here, oh my gosh, he's late. But right there is where I wanted him to pick up the lead, heading back to the other horses. Right there's where I pushed him, and right here's where he actually picked up the lead. So you can see he picked up the wrong lead there. Can you guys see that? So I broke him down and I made sure he picked him up at the wrong spot. It's not as good to the right as to the left. Where the magnet is over there. Does that make sense? So if I ask him right here, he's thinking of going to the right, he's going to pick up the right lead. When I come right here, he's already thinking of going to the left, so that's why he picked up the wrong lead there. You guys see that? I broke down, I got the right lead. If I was judging it, I'd give me a 5 or whatever, if they wanted to give me a 5.5 because I got it. But make sure you ask them in the right place. Does that make sense? Don't ask them. If the magnet's over there, do not ask them, especially there or there, because they're going to be leaning that way. Okay, so like I said, we already did stage 1, stage 3. Front feet and hind feet moving together in the lateral motion. Okay, stage 4, stopping the inside hind foot, moving all the other feet forward around it. Doesn't need to be that fancy. That's all it is just demonstrate those simple vocab words. Stage 3. Okay. Give it around that inside hind foot. Like I said, if you can really get him to spin or whatever, but that's as simple as it needs to be. One other thing in your phase 4 sheets is rollbacks. If you want to show some rollbacks, you can. I really don't I've actually done a lot of rollbacks on this horse, but I'll show you. One of the best ways to start is just kind of at a 45, stop. And then just, if you're using the fence, I'm already kind of right here, just tip their nose and smooch, bring in your outside leg. Yeah, that speeds him up through the turn. And then hustle them through the turn after their nose already stops. So I'm going to rock him back. I'm not going to hustle him until he starts through the turn. As soon as his nose hits the fence, I'm going to go ahead and bring the light on, and the fence is going to keep him. The fence is going to keep him from going forward. That wasn't that pretty, but that gives you kind of idea on some rollbacks. The other thing in here is on the industry test, you have an option to do some freestyle. So that's partly why I have these in here. But I think it works pretty good. This one's close, boys. You can do some stage 3 through here. Okay. The other thing you can do is kind of go in an angle. This is another good, this is a really good way. After you do stage 3 going through, the next thing you can do is kind of just shift your weight. Get your stage 4 going back. It's a really easy way to get a horse to start the neck ring. Hit their nose, bring in your outside leg. Okay, so on the freestyle, the other thing you can do is work a cow.
They get the job done, but maybe knock him a little bit on temperament.
Okay, so now we have the cow. This would be kind of his freestyle. Definitely, if you're going to take a horse and go use him on a ranch or any rodeo events, I think it's nice to, I call this the rate, stop, turn drill. I have the students do there where you just kind of give that horse his head and let him rate. I really like a horse to be able to rate. When they quit rating, you can see him stop, turn, and then pushing back out there. So our vocab words: stage 2 with vertical direction, stage 4 pivot around an inside hind foot, and then tracking that cow around again. And so I think there's a lot of practical application here, especially some of these sticky horses that maybe just get a little tired of trying to lope circles and do some of that. Their horses are naturally herd animals, and so I really like tracking cows. It gives them something to do, and definitely a practical application for the rancher and the rodeo competitor. So you can see there the vocab words of stage 2 and stage 4. Really, if you remember back when we were doing rollbacks on the fence, it's kind of the same thing there, following the cow through the turn. So you see we have our rate, stop, and then turn. So not necessarily perfect, but pretty good. Obviously, he's rating that cow, and now he's rating him there. So scoring pretty good on that. And so as we wrap up here, I just kind of want to look at the inside for the industry test. You could see catch, lead, stand to saddle, accept bridle, stand to get on. There was the freestyle there with the cows. And then we have horizontal flexion or direction and disengage hindquarters, which was stage 1, standing, walking, trotting, loping, walk, trot, and lope a circle, and then asking the horse to stop using both reins, side pass, pivot around an inside hind foot, overall willing submission, and overall vertical flexion. There's also a temperament score at the end of the inside test on self-preservation, confidence, energy, sensitivity, willingness, and reaction to social separation. I want to point out that the 3 meets the industry quality standard, then you're going up and down from there. And so like in self-preservation, so it's consistent, high numbers are good, low numbers are bad. So when we say self-preservation, a high number would mean that he has a low level of self-preservation and that he would be fit for the industry. And you can see some of these other variables like sensitivity from dull to very responsive, willingness, resentful to willing. Remember, our target client is that inexperienced horse owner. So did we prepare him for the client? So after the inside stuff on the industry certification, you come outside and they'll be scored on some outside tasks. One of them's taking the tarp off a fence, tarp or a coat or something. So side pass up, take the coat, move it all around him on that, just showing off the temperament and the foundation. Can side pass up there and then right away. Next we have open and closing a gate. So obviously the task completion here would be open gate. Then we're working at the temperament. How's this horse's temperament as far as energy, sensitivity, reaction to social separation, confidence, all those different parts. And then you'll see some of those basic maneuvers. So our side pass, he'll walk around the end of the gate here, pivot around an inside front foot there. Stage 4, move the front feet across, side pass back the other way. And so if a person does it right, they can kind of show off the basic reining cow horse foundation of some vertical direction, some willing submission. Like I said, pivot around an inside front foot as you walk around the gate, back up, side pass, move the front feet around the hind feet. And so open and closing a gate, it's a real practical application. Obviously, if you're going to work on ranches or feedlots, but it just gives you an opportunity, kind of like working a cow, to apply a lot of the foundational maneuvers to doing a job. All right, so here we have load in trailer. Horse should follow the person in there. All they have to do is get them to walk in there. They can stop for a minute, pet them, and then just turn around and walk out. So a lot of times in the Great Basin, we got stock trailers, and we'll just lead the horse in there, turn around, and lead him out. But our industry judges pointed out that there's a lot of slant loads or even 2-horse trailers, and just the importance of, after you load them, to, instead of just turning them and having them follow you out to back the horse out of the trailer. Backing the horse out of the trailer is going to prepare the horse more for an industry standard to represent a larger portion of the industry. So originally I gave that horse a 4.5, but the industry judges pointed out that they'd like to see him back the horse out of the trailer as far as an industry standard for this test, and so they would only gave him a 3. As far as picking up feet, like to go around, and personally, you're scoring them from 3 is average, meaning they did it, and then you're going pluses from there. So if you're thinking reining cow horse starting at a 70, going up and down from there, I kind of like to see them pick them up and then set them on their lap there and kind of pat them. So so far as picking up feet, he's moving around just a little bit. He took just a couple steps, but really pretty willing as far as picking up his feet. Like I said, he's kind of moving around here. This horse was a little bit more fresh today, but I mean, really pretty good. He stands in between there. I can pet him. Quite a bit of willing submission there. Again, this horse moves around a little bit. So if you're starting at 3, 3.5 would be a plus, you know, however you wanted to score it. I would have this horse in the pluses. It was kind of just more of a temperament thing on that horse moving around, but pretty willing to pick up his feet, so a guy could give him a 3.5 or a 4 on that. He'd definitely be in the pluses. What I would think he's pretty willing with picking up his feet. So the next thing we'll have is I'll get on this horse and I'll trot him and lope him away from the barn. Everyone training horses, everyone in their program, they have their own way of doing it, but me personally, I really like to get these horses outside. That's one of the big task completions. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is horses that claim to have had 90 days of professional horse training, and you can't lope them in a straight line away from the barn. And so that's something that we really target through here, is getting these horses loping in a straight line away from the barn. It deals with the magnets, it deals with the reaction of social separation. I just think it really helps to get a horse with you. One thing I tell my students a lot is alignment, assignment, refinement. And so part of the alignment's in the body, the 3 different parts of the horse, the soul, the mind, the will, and the emotions, and then that identity component. And so get him in alignment, and then assignment, putting him on those straight lines. And then I like to bring him back in the arena where we work on those refining things in the arena. And so that's kind of the heart and the focus of TQA, getting them outside, getting them right in between your hands and feet, and then bringing them inside to work on those refining reining cow horse maneuvers. One of the task completions on the outside is pulling a log or pulling the dummy around, roping on them. Like I said, one of the things we target through the TQA program is task completion, temperament, foundation, trying to equip these horses for that solid ranch or arena horse prospect. And as we've said a lot through here, I'm a real big fan of giving a horse a job. So applying that reining cow horse foundation, all 4 stages to doing a job. So you can see here, dallying, doing that stage 4, pivoting around an inside hind foot till I'm faced the other way, pulling the dummy. And then you'll see me here after I pull a little ways, we'll do that stage 1, pivot around an inside front foot, and then stage 3, side pass back and forth here. And so all this stuff, in just a minute, I'll go rope some calves on this horse, and that's really ultimately the goal at the end of this, the TQA, the 2 months training, is that this horse would be ready to go brand calves or have a basic foundation to start tracking some steers, or obviously ride outside. We talked about that a lot in phase 3, so they're ready to go do a job, whether on the ranch or in the arena. Basic reining cow horse foundation to go any direction. Okay, for some reason on the day we filmed this, I didn't get the healing, and so this was a video from phase 2 or phase 3. Anyway, just give you an idea of what we're looking for on test day. Keep them in between your hands and feet. To heal the dummy here, you can see when he gets on one side, I'll bring in my outside leg, move his front feet over, and so that's kind of what we're targeting for the phase 3 and phase 4. That you can do stage 3, side passing, and stage 4 to get him in position. take a good shot, dally there. I didn't dally, but keeping him nice and quiet and soft in between your hands and feet, making it a good experience. And then we'll see later in this video how that transitions over to giving them a foundation to heading and heeling and roping some calves. All right, so as we wrap up the TQA industry colt starting test, 25% of the score is on the task completion. So that's the 6 task completions on the inside and the 6 task completions on the outside. 25% of their overall score is on the foundation. Those are the 12 task completions on the inside. And then 25% of the score is on temperament. And that's made up of the 6 temperament variables on the inside component and the 6 temperament variables on the outside component. I would just give this horse a 4 across the board on temperament. It's always tricky in training and selling horses to the public to bring the sensitivity and the energy down far enough to match the public, but then having enough life to be able to take that horse to go do a job. And I think as a whole, his self-preservation is down, his confidence is up, he's got plenty of energy to go do something. He's very responsive and very willing and has no reaction to social separation. So I think he'd really fit your average person in the public pretty good. The last 2 components of the TQA industry test is the client education. That makes up 12.5% of their score. And the horse health and welfare, another 12.5%. which makes up the total 25%. So on the client education, we're looking at answers to questions, overall demeanor, and this would be with the industry judges asking them questions. The video that they have to submit, which would be introduction to TQA, explanation of vocab words, trainer's evaluation of the horse, the training trifecta scores, and then follow-up suggestions, what they would suggest for the client when they take them home. And then on the horse health and welfare, body condition, the mane and tail, cuts and scrapes, housing conditions, feet, teeth, and chiropractic care, documentation. The big thing on here is just the overall health and welfare, that the horse wasn't neglected. Most of this test is weighted pretty heavily on showing the horse on the task completion, temperament, and foundation component, but it is important for people to know in the industry that there is the client education, working with the client, and of course the follow-up suggestions, and also the horse health and welfare. It's very important that if you're taking a horse to train it, that you take care of the horse while it's under your care. So to wrap up the TQA colt starting test, task completion 25%, foundation 25%, temperament 25%, client education 12.5%, and horse health and welfare 12.5%. Okay, so here would be kind of the goal at the end of the 2 months training. Not that everyone's going to get here, but like I said, everyone's kind of got their own way of training horses, and especially in this first 2 months where I have beginners and learning to rope. I do want a reining cow horse foundation, but at the end of the day, if they're not loping perfect circles, and a person can get them outside, get them lined out going somewhere, and start roping on them. If you have beginners that are trying to learn, I just think it helps a lot. You can see here I roping that horse. He's pretty gentle. His temperament's pretty solid. You can see I did some stage 3 and stage 4 there. I'm keeping him in between my hands and feet. You watch me slip a little rope here where I can get him going outside. These calves get roped quite a bit here. He's getting pretty heavy, but I kind of go slow, and this girl can get in position here. She'll rope him there, and then yeah, I did stage 1 there to turn and face, and then you can see here stage 3. So these are just kind of all the same things that we did out with the dummy there. You can see I'm going stage 3 back and forth to roll that dummy, roll the calf, I'm sorry. So that's the practical application of everything we just did, applying the foundation to doing a job. And that's such a huge part of TQA: task completion, temperament, and foundation. So that was the heading, just applying the same thing we did on the dummy, getting in position here, putting my horse's head right on the that calf's left hip. I'll rope that calf, stop my horse, stage 2 with vertical direction, let some rope slip. Okay, we'll get someone on the ground there, and then I'll pop my turns and go up. And I mean, that's really the goal of this at the end of the 2 months training that a rancher could take these horses, and obviously they could trot them away from the barn to go do a job. They can get them lined out to track around some cows, and when spring branding come around, they'd be ready to brand some calves. And you can see that's kind of where this horse is at. Like I said, I started him in the fall term, and then honestly he had about 2 months off, and I was really inconsistent, so it wasn't perfect, but hopefully it kind of gives you an idea of where we want him. Thank you for watching the TQA colt starting process from groundwork to phase 4. As I have discussed through these videos, the focus of the TQA program is to achieve the training trifecta: task completion, temperament, and foundation. Through these videos, I have tried to follow the methods I have learned from my grandfather Ray Hunt and my father Martin Black. I've greatly slowed the process down that I was raised with to help accommodate more inexperienced riders, but the philosophy and the end product I have tried to keep the same. My grandpa used to say, the first day the horse will cost you money, the second day he will hold his own, and on the third day he'll be on the payroll. My dad followed the same philosophy when I worked for him growing up, and it was a very rare occasion that we were not trotting down the ditch bank by the third day when starting any horse. My family has never just ridden horses in arena. We have always taken our horses outside and built strong foundations through practical jobs, even if in a horse training setting. I have taken what I have learned from these men and mixed them with 30 years of training and selling horses to the public, getting my master's in nutrition and the starting process, teaching colt starting classes at the college for 13 years, and it was the same philosophy that helped me win the 2019 Road to the Horse Wildcard Championship and win the 2021 World Championship of Colt Starting. The black side of my family has been raising, selling, showing, rodeoing, and using horses to do a job on a ranch for 7 generations in Owyhee County. I am very proud to pass on our family tradition to my own kids, and I also feel very blessed to have a job teaching at a college where I can teach what I have learned in training horses and starting colts. With that said, the method I have just demonstrated is one way of training horses. It is not the only way. I tell my students, if you want to be a serious horse trainer, go work for someone that has fed their family training horses day in and day out. Work for that person and 4 to 5 others. When you show up to the new horse trainer, check your way in the previous horse trainer's way at the door and do it the way of your new employer. After working for 4 to 5 different horse traders, develop your own way. Take a little bit from everyone you can, eat the meat and throw out the bone, and develop your way. It is my prayer that what I have learned through training horses would not only help people that may need a little guidance starting colts, but more importantly, apply the TQA philosophy to their own life and the relationships that they hold most closely. You have one chance to make a first impression with a colt, and the same is true in our marriages and parenting. Not that you can't work through bad wrecks and help horses and people after bad experiences, but it has been my experience it's better to do it right the first time. Take what you can from these videos, eat the meat, throw out the bone, and most importantly, apply what you learn from training horses to the people you care about most in life.